Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. We're going to be talking about Teen Mom Dad Tyler Baltiera. You guys know him. He started on 16 and Pregnant and then went on to Teen Mom. We have been going over his IG lives, his Instagram lives that he did the past few days. We're going to be going over his last live today. I do have a cough drop in my mouth, so I'm sorry if I'm talking kind of weird. It's because I have like a cough drop in the side of my mouth. So I do apologize. Um, I'm still sick a little bit, so bear with me. So, so you guys, over the past few days, Tyler Baltiera has been going live on his Instagram to talk about his adoption story. And the reason this started, most of you guys have been following this story, so y'all know why it started. But recently, Kate and Tyler were blocked by their biological daughter's adoptive parents, Brandon and Teresa. Kate and Tyler were the first adoption story on 16 and Pregnant. They decided to place their daughter Carly up for adoption due to the fact that they did not have the means to really take care of her. Tyler's dad was a real bad alcoholic, drug addict who was in and out of prison, who was married to Kate's mom, who was an alcoholic. Their relationship was toxic and just not a good relationship, and it boiled over onto the kids. Tyler's dad was very emotionally, verbally abusive to Tyler and to Kate. And Kate's mom was the same to Kate and Tyler. Very mean. They moved around a lot. They just did not have stability, and they did not have a good, solid, strong household to bring this baby into. They did not have money to take care of the baby, so they opted for adoption. When they went in to meet the adoption agency counselor, they were told that they could do an open adoption, that this could go the way that they wanted. They made the rules of their adoption, but in reality, that's not the case. They were kind of misled. There were two 16-year-olds at the time. They went in without any adults that could be supportive or could be on their side, that could be advocates for them. And in Michigan, where they live, open adoption plans are not legally enforced. They cannot be legally enforced. So that was unbeknownst to them, though, at the time, as 16 years old. They met Brandon and Teresa, who was working with the agency to try to find a baby to adopt. Brandon and Teresa initially wanted a completely closed adoption. But when Kate and Tyler picked Brandon and Teresa to be the parents to their daughter, they decided that they would change it and they would do semi-open, because that's what Kate and Tyler initially wanted. They wanted semi-open, which is just pictures and letters and gifts. The only difference between open and semi-open is semi-open, you can send gifts, you can send letters, you can send and receive pictures. Closed is absolutely nothing at all. You don't know their name. You don't know where they live. Semi-open is some of the details, like what state they live in, their first name. You get to send and receive pictures, letters, and gifts. Completely open is you can know everything. You can know where they live. You can know their name. You can see each other. You get physical visits once a year. So they going in, they wanted a semi-open, and that was what they always talked about. After she had Carly, they changed it to open. They wanted a full open adoption. They called Dawn and asked Dawn if they could change it, and Dawn said, yes, you have so many days to change it. So that's what they went in thinking, that they had changed it to an open adoption. However, the paperwork that they signed outlined that it would be open until Carly was the age of 5. And after the age of 5, it would be at the discretion of Brandon and Teresa. Tyler says they actually never read the contract because they just thought, they took it in good faith, that what they agreed upon was Kate and Tyler, as the birth parents, telling Brandon and Teresa and Dawn that they wanted an open adoption is what would be put into the contract. But that is not what was put into the contract. They signed this contract without reading it. And as years went on, after the 4th annual visit, the 5th annual visit, they did not want to visit. And that's when things started getting a little why don't they want to visit? Like, and Kate ended up reaching out to Dawn saying, like, hey, their adoption counselors, like, what's going on? Like, why aren't they talking to us? Dawn set up a meeting with them and presented them with the contract saying, let me take you back to 2009. This is, yeah, I would want to know. I think, I don't know. It might would help them if they knew if it was her. I think I would probably want to know. I don't know though. It's hard to know what you would do in that situation because this is a situation that I feel like you really don't know unless you're in it, you know? But Dawn brought the contract, said, I'm gonna take you guys back to 2009. This is what you signed. And Kate and Tyler were both like, whoa, like this is not what we asked for. Like we didn't read it. Like, yeah, we should have read it. Either way, as time has went on, communication between them with Brandon and Teresa has been here and there. They have not always had annual visits. They have skipped a year here, skipped 2 years there. And it's just kind of been whenever Brandon and Teresa, allows it to happen. Well, this past year, when Kate reached out to inquire about the annual visit, Teresa told her that they would not have one and that she wanted to that she would not be talking to Caitlin anymore, that they did not wish to talk to Caitlin and Tyler anymore. Tyler initially said that, or Kate actually said that she initially like messaged and was like, can we get on a phone call? Like, can we talk so I can figure out what I did wrong? Like, what did I do? Either way, she was blocked, but Caitlin did end up saying, well, I will continue. I won't talk to you. You don't have to talk to me, but I'm going to continue sending updates to Carly like I promised her I would do. That's our part of our contract that we agreed that we would send updated pictures of ourselves and our lives to keep Carly kind of in the know about what we have going on. So I'm going to continue to do that. You don't have to talk to me. That's fine. I'll just kind of address Carly. So she continued to do that, but Teresa did end up blocking her. Since then, Tyler has jumped on Instagram a couple of times to discuss the situation. This is his third and last Instagram live where he talks about the adoption. What we know is Teresa just finally said one day, we will not be talking to y'all anymore. We don't want to talk to y'all anymore. And they asked for a phone call to kind of figure out what happened, was not given that. So she proceeded to send updates. She would message like 4 or 5 times a month, sending updates. But once they got blocked, obviously she stopped. Tyler said that's when they decided to go public with this because they want Carly to know that they never gave up, that it wasn't them not seeking Carly out, not wanting to know about Carly, not wanting to keep that annual visit and keep that open that relationship there. They wanted that it was Brandon and Teresa that stopped that. That way, if this is not Carly's decision to shut them out, she will know that they were there. That seems to be Tyler's like biggest thing is like, well, if our parents are doing this and it's not her decision. I've heard so many stories about adoptees saying, like, no, I wanted to know that my parents were trying. I wanted to know that my birth parents were trying. The fact that they didn't try is what the trauma that I have. My trauma comes from the fact that my parents just put me up for adoption and never even cared to check in on me or see me, didn't want to see me, didn't care to ever see me. It seems like they're talking to a lot of adoptees that kind of feel the same way that they do. He's like, so that's what I want to make sure that she knows that we always tried, that it wasn't us giving up on her. So we're going to watch the last clip. It is 52 minutes. And I have it uploaded for those that want to watch just the video. It will go up after this video. So this one will have commentary throughout. The other one will be just the video. Is that annual visit in the court papers? Yes, but it's not enforceable because in Michigan, what you do as birth parents, you sign over your rights. You sign over your parental rights to you sign over your parental rights to someone else. And that's it. So by the time nothing else is legally binding when it comes to because they can't enforce it basically from what it says online. I can't watermark it. And the reason I didn't is because it's up on Tyler's page and technically it's his. I made changes to the other one, so I did watermark one of them because I made several changes, but I didn't really make any changes to this one. So I didn't watermark it. It is, kind of Tyler's. So we're gonna just kind of play it as is. All right, let's go ahead. Let's listen. You guys tell me if y'all can't hear it.
I'm not here to really debate any opinions. I think everyone's entitled to them, and that's cool, and that's fine. I just want to point it out there that the reason I want to get this stuff.
Yes, I appreciate that so much, Lulu. I mean, Abby, because when I screen record something that I watched in real time, that it took me hours to edit, like a lot of the TikToks that I used to watch when Mama June or Pumpkin or Alana would go live, and I would sit there and watch them for hours on end and record all of it, and then have to go through and it take me 2 days to edit stuff out and to get the dead air out or the mumbling out and put captionings on. The captionings weren't right, and I had to go back and fix them. And it would take me hours to do that. I would absolutely watermark that because I put so much time into that. This one, I just went to Tyler's page, recorded it. I did take a few little things out, like dead air, but not much. So, also really quickly, I do got some tea. Tomorrow, you guys, I'm gonna go live. Let me tell y'all. So last night, I got off. It's not my audio. I'm sick. Okay, so last night I got off the live feeling like death, right? Went in the house, took my makeup off, laid down, and I came across Janelle's TikTok. And I was like, you know what? Let me go watch Janelle for a little bit. So I was going through TikToks and I came to that TikTok where she said something about in North Carolina for 2 to 3 weeks, don't worry about my kids. I have childcare. And I was like, I really wonder who kept her kids in Las Vegas. Like, who does she know? Like, did she fly someone out? So today I got up, got the kids ready, and one of my kids had a dentist appointment to have his teeth cleaned. So on the way there, I started messaging my sources, my Janelle Eason sources, right? Like, hey, I know Janelle has moved, but do you happen to know who watched the kids? Baby, my sources started blowing me up to let me know that they had info about this. One of my sources was like, girl, it's not good. But there was multiple people, many sitters, and the sources are pretty sure that Janelle did not know them, did not know these people that kept her kids for like 3 weeks. So I haven't talked to my Janelle sources in a while just because I really didn't think anything was going on. But when I watched that, I was like, who kept her kids? Like, they have not been in Las Vegas long enough for her to know anybody. And at first I thought that August may have watched them, but then I was like, no, August went with her. So who watched her kids? So I hit up every source that I've used through Janelle in the past year. I hit them up like, hey, do you know who watched the kids? Do you know who watched the kids? A couple of them was like, no, I don't know, but I've wondered. Some of them did. And they were like, yes, you're right. Janelle has not been in Las Vegas long enough to know anyone. She did not know them. It was many of them. So today, I spent a lot of time on the phone with a bunch of different of my sources, them trying to pull information on who watched the kids and what went down. It's going to be mind blowing. So tomorrow, we're going to talk about that. Okay. We're going to talk about Janelle literally and her kids started school during this time. Her kids started school at a brand new school in a brand new state while Janelle was in North Carolina. Yes, indeedy. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. So let's go ahead. I just had to tell you guys that because these kids need to be investigated by CPS. I know the CPS has literally looked into them, taken them, given them back, but this does not make sense. The stuff that I have been told by so many of my sources that she will leave her kids with people that she's never even talked to, from what they've heard, like possibly like 4 people over 3 weeks. staying the night at her house. Like, we don't know if these, you know how some women are like predators, like men are predators, women are predators, and you have, so we're gonna, I got my notes here of everything that I was told through multiple sources, and we're gonna go over tomorrow. Let's go ahead, let's finish watching Tyler, you guys.
Stuff out there is for the sake that Carly doesn't have access to any of.
Jace is 15, but he wasn't there. He went to North Carolina with Janelle. It was literally Kaiser and Inslee with babysitters they did not know, from what all my sources have heard. Yeah.
The information. So with that being said, I really want people to like just be careful with what they say. And if their opinion is kind of harsh or not fact-based, which I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that's just based off of things that aren't true, or, you know, so I just want to put out just please remember that I don't want anyone to be being unnecessarily cruel to her parents. I don't want there to be any extreme opinions that are not based on facts that could potentially, you know, come across as just being mean and cruel. I just this is an open conversation for people who are involved in the adoption constellation. That's the whole purpose of this: adoptees, birth parents, and adoptive parents, and you know what I mean. So I want to make it like really clear, like some of the harsh stuff, it's just not necessary. It's not necessary. We can have open conversations and not be mean and cruel. And I feel like people are getting it.
You know, he's like, I want to make sure, like, with everything that I'm putting out, that nobody is being mean and cruel to Brandon and Teresa. But I'm also like, Tyler, like, I know what you meant by saying you would not have chose them as her parents if you could go back. Like, I understand you're saying, like, just because of the difference in how they really wanted to close adoption, I would have we would have kept Carly ourselves, or we would have chose somebody that was okay with an open adoption. But do I believe they're good parents? Sure. But I just would have chose somebody that would have wanted an open adoption, or we would have kept her. You're telling people, like, don't say anything that can be hurtful. Like, don't say anything that could be, you know, that could hurt them, that could be kind of harsh. But I'm like, you have said a few things that hurts them, I'm sure. Like, that's harsh, like saying that, you know.
It twisted by, you know, like, oh, you're bashing her parents by doing this. I'm not bashing them. I'm not slandering their names. I'm not calling them out of their names. I'm not really even sharing my opinion on who they are as people. I'm literally.
Yes, just Andrea. I think they were taken advantage of too by Dawn, for sure. I think Brandon and Teresa placated them. Like, I think Brandon and Teresa knew what they wanted, that they wanted to close adoption. Well, they said that they initially wanted to close adoption. But I think because they just so badly wanted to be chosen, you know, and matched with a family, that they said, you know what, well, fine, we'll do semi-open. When really they knew they really didn't want to do that. They decided to do it just because they were so excited that a family had met with them and like wanted them to be their child's parents. They wanted them to be the adoptive parents. So when they realized they had this difference, they were like, oh, well, we really want the semi-open adoption. Well, we really want the closed adoption. Well, we really want semi-open adoption. Okay, we can do semi-open. We can do semi-open. That's fine. That's fine. I think Dawn probably let Brandon and Teresa know, hey, you guys can shut it at any time. You guys can close the adoption at any time. There's no law saying that it has to stay open. So I definitely think they were taken advantage of, which sucks. But at this point, I think, speaking about this publicly, I think it is possibly doing more harm than good.
Just here sharing facts about our adoption journey. That's it. And like I said, that's why I'm not really going back and forth. I'm not debating with opinions. It doesn't serve anybody, I guess. My whole thing is I'm just here to like state facts if I see comments that are based off of, you know, just not being true or stuff that needs clarifying or, you know, expanding on, that's what I'm here to do. So yeah. Anyway, so I feel like what needs to be kind of addressed here, in my opinion, is for people to just kind of do their own research. Okay. Don't take it from me. Go search up adoptees experience and go try to like, just educate yourself, get, you know, get to understand all perspectives of this whole situation, because every single adoption is super unique. There's no two adoptions that are the same. And everyone involved in that adoption kind of triad is going to experience different things. Okay. And so my thing is here is not to, I will not speak for Carly. I'm not going to give, you know, too many details about her. I'm going to share my experience. And she is involved in that experience, you know, but I'm not here to speak for her or to, you know, say things that I'm not 100% sure of, because what I'm talking to you and what I'm saying to you is stuff that I'm 100% certain of. Okay. So, I think this is hard on everybody involved. I actually saw a video the other day, which I'm really happy, because it was an adoptive mother who expressed how hard it was for her to be the parent of an adoptee and actually watch the birth parents, you know, grow up and be successful and be stable and have their own kids. And she expressed like a really like intense experience where she mentioned about it was heartbreaking for her to watch that happen and then feel like she stole something, or, you know, didn't really honor the birth parents as much as she could have or whatever. And it just was an intense experience. I was like, wow, like I've never heard that perspective. And I thought it was really interesting, and it got me thinking, like, if Brandon and Teresa are feeling that, oh, that's heartbreaking to me. Because I would never want them to feel like they stole something from us, or that they, you know, took part in our own trauma and causing our own trauma. And I like that hit me. I was like, wow, like I don't want that at all. I don't want that at all. And I mean, to be honest with you, the only thing I really want for Brandon and Teresa is to heal whatever infertility trauma they have. And I don't know what their journey is with that. They didn't really never.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying that Tyler was way out of bounds to talk about Teresa's fertility issues. So you guys let me your thoughts on that as well. Let me know, do you guys feel like he has no business to speak on it? Or do you guys feel like because that's how they met, because she had fertility issues and wanted to adopt and adopted, you know, the child that him and Kate made together, then he can say, like, I know women, because I went this route, I've learned that women face fertility trauma. And I just hope she dealt with it. Do you guys feel like he has the right to say it, or he's not allowed to speak on it? Let me know your thoughts, because he's got a lot of backlash. A lot of people saying, whoa, 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 you have no right speaking on someone else's fertility issues. What do you guys think?
Never went to detail, but I just hope that they find a lot of healing with that, because I've been doing my research as far as the adoptive parents' feelings and how they, the trauma that they go through, and the grief and loss that comes with not being able to have your own biological child and fulfill those, you know, fertility parenting dreams like that.
Okay, so Colby, okay. So Kate and Tyler, when they gave birth to Carly, at first they were not going to look at her, they were not going to hold her. Well, they decided they were going to look at her and hold her. They spent a few hours with her before Brandon and Teresa came in. They spent about 5 hours with her. Brandon and Teresa came in. They gave her over to Teresa. whatever, like the next day, they're getting discharged, but they cannot give Carly to Brandon and Teresa because they were minors. Kate and Ty's parents needed to okay the adoption, and they did not. So legally, they could not just give their kid to these people. The hospital said they could not do it there because they could not be responsible for that because it was not signed. Their parents did not sign the consent to allow their children to hand their baby over to Brandon and Teresa. So they actually filmed this. Kate getting pushed out of the hospital in a wheelchair, holding baby Carly, them going like across the street to the curb, like getting out of the wheelchair. Tyler gets Carly up, gets Carly out of Caitlin's lap, holds Carly. Caitlin stands up. Teresa and Caitlin hug. Teresa gets Carly out of Tyler's hands, puts her in the car seat, and they all hug and they all leave. They could not do the exchange at the hospital because the documents were not signed. The needed documents were not signed. Their parents did not give consent.
That's devastating. And they are, kind of forced by nature to go the adoption route. I don't really know. And correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone's out there that is an adoptive parent, but I don't really know any adoptive parent that like jumped for joy and said, I want to be an adoptive mom. I mean, or adoptive dad or adoptive parents, whatever. Like, I don't think any of them really like wanted it. Just like birth parents, none of us want to relinquish our child. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a thing. So, and I think that needs to be understood, that adoption from all sides is trauma. I mean, you can't have it.
I don't know. I guess normally parents would sign and it would be like a legal situation. But because the parents had not signed, they were like, we don't want y'all doing it here, and something backfire, and then it'd be on us. So y'all cannot do it on our property. Which legally, I guess anybody can have a kid and say, here, you want my kid? And the other person can say, yeah, I want your kid. And they can give the kid. And as long as everybody's okay with that, nothing's illegal about it. I don't guess. As long as everyone's okay with it and not reporting it as like abandonment or something. As long as this person's okay with that person having their child and this person's okay with having the child, then it's not illegal, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it still would be considered abandonment. I don't know. But Kate and Tyler, Brandon and Teresa had to stay in Michigan for 30 days. And on the 30th day, they had to go to court. Kate and Tyler were appointed a guardian ad litem who stood on their behalf because their parents would not. Their parents would not give consent for them to place Carly up for adoption. So their guardian ad litem kind of stood in and did that for them. And Kate and Tyler's parents actually objected when the courts asked, like, does anybody object to, them placing Carly up for adoption? Butch and April was like, we object, but they did not end up with Carly. Brandon and Teresa did. So the judge, obviously looking at Butch and Kate, April and Butch and their records, and looking at Brandon and Teresa and hearing what Kate and Tyler wanted, said, yeah, no, I'm going to give the baby to them. That's what the birth parents want. I know they're underage, but they do have a guardian ad litem here with them. You guys do not need a baby because you just got out of prison. So yeah, they had a guardian ad litem, but it was appointed to them literally like just for the court hearing. It was not appointed to them when they first started talking about adoption to really be that advocate for them, someone that knows the ins and outs of adoption, who could have told them, listen, we know you want an open adoption, but they never have to give you that. Once you sign over rights to your daughter, they can take her. She's no longer yours, and they never have to show her face to you ever again, because open adoptions is not enforceable in Michigan. We do not enforce them. So once you sign her over, if they decide that's what it is, and you need to know that, and you need to know if that's not what you want, if you want to be able to see her then you need to keep her, versus putting her up, because there is and Tyler tells us just the statistics on like the percentage of open adoptions that are closed within, so like the first 5 years, like a certain percent of them, a high percent of them are closed within the first 5 years, because the adopting parents know that they can do that. The birth parents were not informed and did not know that it can be closed on them, which I think is, that's where I think it needs reform. I think all birth parents need to know this, that it absolutely can be closed. Right, May, right.
You can't have adoption without trauma. I think it's like super important, because I want people who are commenting and having their opinions that are, maybe not based on facts or based off of not even having any connection to the adoption world at all. Like, please understand that that's what you're dealing with, is someone's very personal, hard, traumatic experience that's unique to them. And so when you have people who are not involved in the adoption constellation or triad commenting their opinions that are based off of just nothing, it can be damaging. It's harmful. And that's why I'm like, I get people's perspective by saying, hey, do you think you're harming Carly by, sharing your story? And I hope I'm not. I really don't think I am. And I've gotten, I might share them later on, maybe in my little adoption highlight reel on my Instagram, but I have been flooded with instant messages of adoptees and adoptive parents that are just like, please keep speaking, please keep talking, please keep this conversation going. It's so important for everybody to hear these things, and to better understand all of this. Adoption's super complicated. It's very complex on all sides. So, and also I wanted to, just remember, I wanted to get that out there. Like, please just remember, like, kindness it's free. And if you don't have any personal experience regarding adoption, I mean, just keep scrolling. I don't know. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but your opinion is not really valid in this little community here. So I just implore everyone to just do the research and just learn about it all. Another thing that I would like to say is that I know the finale aired, and I don't watch it at all, so I only saw a clip of what was talked about and stuff. And I wanted to point out that I think it's kind of interesting how we've been doing this for 14 years, okay, sharing this whole adoption journey from the beginning to now. And everyone has always been like, what a gift you've given them. And oh my gosh, what a beautiful story. Adoption's so beautiful. You're doing such a good job of representing it, and just sharing your story is important and all this stuff. And we've never gotten any kind of like negative feedback for sharing that story until now. And I think it's very interesting that now that we are sharing our internal struggles and just our experience with the trauma of adoption, now it's like you're exploiting her and your story by using your story. You're using this as a storyline. You're profiting off this adoption story and whatever. And it's like, well, dude, I'm not in control of the storyline that MTV wants to air and edit and put in an episode. I'm not in control of that. I'm literally here to live my life, and they follow it. And then, I mean, so I just think it's ironic how it's always so beautiful and so, oh my gosh. And the moment that a birth parent like myself and Kate speak about how hard it is, or how any negative thing that doesn't glorify the adoptive parents, now it's like the society's just like, whoa. And it's like, it's okay. That's the facts, right? But that also brings up a really important reason why we should keep having this discussion, is because that's the narrative that adoption has in our country, really, and all over the place. But specifically America, no one else has an adoption industry quite like America does. So, and in that kind of community and that kind of like stigma and stereotype is, there's a woman who wrote a book called The Unfiltered Adoption, which I really recommend everyone read it. And there's a part in there where she's like, if the adoption constellation was represented by a Thanksgiving dinner, the adoptive parents would be at the adult table, the big kid table, whatever. And then the adoptees would be at the kids table, regardless of what their age is. And then the birth parents would be outside peering through the window with a casserole in their hand, just waiting to be, invited in. And I think that's kind of like, that's a really good analogy for what the adoption community and perception and society expectations kind of have on it. It's a really good image of talking about why.
This is a good comment. He doesn't understand privacy. And I do think the kids that started on 16 and pregnant and are now doing Teen Mom, the next chapter, that have been on TV since they were 16, I really think they don't. I really think a lot of them don't understand privacy because they put so much of their lives on camera and they talk about it. And when they're not on camera for MTV, they're doing TikTok lives or Instagram lives or YouTube videos. So I do think that I have seen some of them that really don't understand that, like, just because you share your story and your life doesn't mean that you should probably share everything, because some things affect other people. My biggest concern is Carly hearing this and it upsetting her and her resenting Tyler for speaking out against her parents, for speaking out against Brandon and Teresa, for her saying, you turned like the whole Teen Mom fandom against my parents, or you turned a lot of people against my parents because you had this big following and you put it out there that like my mom blocked you. When maybe it was her that just like wanted the distance, when maybe it was just too much for Carly at the time. She's 15 years old. At 15, parents are having problems out of kids. I don't care how good you are. And I really feel like, especially like an adopted child, I know with my kids, my older two kids do not belong to my husband. They belong to the guy that I dated for many years before. Listen, my son is a good kid, but he has even said, "You're not my daddy." And I just wonder if that's something that's common within the adoptive community. Adopted kids that know that they're adopted, if they're in that rebellious stage, acting out, "You're not even my real parents." If maybe they deal with stuff like that and they just felt like, for the time being, we're going to shut down visits, we're going to shut down communication, we just don't want to talk right now, we're having issues. Or maybe Carly is like, I don't like the pictures they're sending. They have other kids that they do so much with, and it's just a nice life that they have, and it reminds me of a life that I did not get with them. It makes me sad. So I just don't want anything to do with him. It be in any situation like that, and then him continue to speak out, and it upsetting her and affecting her and making her resent him. And she's already going to have adoptee trauma. It is what it is. Like, adoptees have adoptees trauma. So she's already going to have that. And now you're possibly, you could possibly just be causing her some hurt and pain. And for that reason alone, I would probably just be writing in my journal letters to her, taking pictures, sending them to an email that I have designated for her. So when she turns 18, I can forward all of this to her and say, "I know we haven't talked to you since you were 15. I know we haven't seen you since you were 14. But we continue to ask. And we text your mom's phone you know, every other week, sending updates, sending pictures. And once we realized that we were not getting through to your mom, we set up an email for you where we continue to send updates and we continue to write notes to you to let you know that you were loved and missed. And here's that folder for you to see that even though you have not heard from us in 3 years, it was not because we were not thinking about you. We were, and send that to her. I don't know. Rather than doing it publicly, because there's just so many things that could go wrong with him doing it publicly. People are crazy. People are crazy. Like, like the internet is, I'm sure he would hate it if somebody went real life over this situation, because they get so upset with Brandon and Teresa for blocking Carly or blocking Caitlin, and they went real life, called their work, like it's just really hard to know when you share so much with people that you don't know what they can then do with that information. The Grinch Report also did a rewatch of 16 and Pregnant episode, and Dawn knew exactly what she was doing. She was even hovering because Kate was taking too long with Carly. Yes, I know. And I don't understand how they are not more upset at Dawn.
Birth parents are left outside. We're actually expected to be outside, to be able to listen to the conversations, the mumbling of what's going on, but not really be able to say anything because we're stuck outside. So I thought that was a really kind of easy breakdown about that. And I think that's kind of an interesting how I'm seeing that play out in real time with just the crazy amount of, cruel and mean things that people are saying just because me and Kate are sharing our story and our truth and our experience and as birth parents. And it's a perfect indicator of why we need to keep talking about this, because in this whole adoption community that I'm learning more about as we go on and just reading in books and just kind of trying to understand everything, birth parents are meant to be silenced. Adoptees are meant to be kind of follow the guidelines, like follow suit with the adoptive parents. And the adoptive parents are glorified and meant to be, we should be grateful. And I want to be really specific on that word grateful. I have gotten too many messages from adoptees saying that is the most triggering word for them.
This is interesting to me.
Because these adoptees, regardless if they're still in the fog or not, whatever they're at in their own process, there's trauma involved in that experience. And so when you say, well, you should be grateful, and could you imagine someone saying, it's like, a house being on fire and you get saved and they're like, well, you didn't die. Yeah, but my whole house burnt down and everything in it, my whole life is gone. Yeah, I'm not dead. But so they're like, you should be grateful. Like it's not compassionate. And it just doesn't sit right with me, I guess, when they're like, and then even when people say to birth parents, you should be grateful, it's like, yeah, I am grateful. But for you to tell me you should be grateful and just shut your mouth and wait, and it's like, and hush, hush, it's like, whoa, like I am grateful that my child is being raised not in the chaotic, traumatic environment that I was raised in. But I'm not grateful for the inevitable trauma that she's going to have to experience and kind of face as she gets older. Yeah, so I would just tread lightly with certain things like that, or opinions, I guess. And I'm getting a lot.
They actually did work kind of for the agency for like a year after the adoption. This is when they were still like kind of coming off like this big experience of placing their child and thinking that this agency was there for them and helped them throughout the process. So they actually did started doing a lot of work for the agency. They actually went around um, to different schools talking about adoption and basically painting it like kind of like a pretty picture, like, oh, it's hard, but like, this agency, we chose this agency, and they just catered to us, and blah 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 blah. So it was years later when they finally was like, oh wait, maybe we were taken advantage of.
A lot of stuff like you sign off your rights, give it up, stop all this. And it just keeps, it's not sitting with me, I guess. I am just like, this is showing me that I think we need to keep talking about it, because this is what society expects. Birth parents are no, only talk when it's about how great and beautiful and what a gift it is. Anything else is shh. And then adoptees kind of the same way. Like if don't talk about your desire to see your bio family, because you should be grateful that we're raising you and we're doing all the work and blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, that's my feeling. I feel like
I don't think that's fair to tell a child that knows that they're adopted. Thank you so much, Mel. Thank you. To tell a child that knows that they're adopted, that may say, who are my birth parents? I want to know who they are. To be like, well, no, you should be grateful because they weren't going to raise you. They're nobodies. They didn't want you. We got you. We raised you. We spent the time, the energy, the effort. We did everything for you. So you should be grateful. Why do you want to know who they were? They did nothing for you. Because it is like human nature to want to know where you come from. That's just, it is what it is. I've read about this. Like, everybody just has this part of them that wants to know. Some people shut it out for different reasons, but it's there. And if an adoptee says, I want to meet my bio parents, I don't feel like it's right to be like, you should just be grateful that you got parents that took care of you. I don't know. I don't like that.
I don't take any negative opinions to heart because they don't know my situation, and they can try to, justify their cruel things that they're going to say and whatever. That's fine. But I'm not here to correct them about their opinion. I'm only here to correct them about the facts that I'm seeing that are wrong. And they're entitled to that opinion. That's fine. I just wish the opinion would be filtered through a little bit of education on the whole adoption, adoptive parent thing. I think it's important to be educated before you have a really strong opinion about it. And not just strong, but downright cruel and mean, really. So yeah, anyway, that's kind of the main thing that I wanted to put out there. I will not be sharing I'll not be sharing any crazy details when it comes to Carly of her as a person. I will only be sharing my experiences of.
I read that it's just like a natural human instinct, but some people suppress it out of like anger towards their bio parents. That everybody has like this, who am I? Where did I come from? But some people will suppress it. I'm not an adoptee, so I don't know. I just read that because throughout this, I've been reading more about adoption because he uses lingo, adoption fog. And so I've been reading up on it. And I read that like it's their human nature to just want to know, where did I come from? Who did I come from? What do they look like? Blah, 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 blah. But some people suppress it, for certain reasons. Anger, sadness, feeling like if I wasn't good enough for them, then they're not ever, I'm not ever going to seek them out. So I can't speak and say that it's a fact. This is what I read, that they all have that the thought. Don't suppress it. I don't know.
The birth parent
the adoptees in the chat can let me know if that's kind of how y'all felt. I don't know. Very demure. Yes.
Her adoptive parents and that relationship. And people can say that's wrong. Or whatever. But again, I'm not here to debate what's right and what's wrong. I'm here to just share the facts. And then those facts can let the explaining do itself. You can take those facts and then you can go ahead and do whatever you want to do with them. You know what I mean? So, yeah, adoption is a huge, crazy industry in America, very unique to our own country, and the laws that are protecting everyone involved, and huge profit, lots of revenue comes in, lots of revenue. I mean,
Right.
like I said before, Bethany has made $188 million
That's wild.
last year. And I think the average adoption today costs about $50,000 to adopt a child. Which, by the way, has none of those funds go to any aftercare for the birth mother. And that's where I kind of get a little bit like passionate about, because if I was, and this is just my opinion, if I was an adopted parent, and in order for me to fulfill my dreams of becoming a parent, and in order to fulfill those dreams required a woman to be traumatized and having to relinquish her child, I would literally do anything that I could do to help that woman post-birth and post-relinquishing to get any help that she could get. Like immediately get her into therapy. I would do anything to kind of help her. And I think it's interesting how the moment that Kate plays Carly, that was it. Everyone was so concerned about Carly not being raised in the trauma and addiction and just chaos. But the moment that Kate relinquished Carly, it was like, okay, now go back to your trauma, go back to your chaotic household and buck up and get over it. And it's like, no aftercare? That's insane to me. That blows my mind as an adult now, looking back, like, wow, you just were like, hey, this baby should not be raised in this thing. So let me, you're doing a good thing. Good for you. And then it's like, okay, now child, because she was a child, go back. Now just go back and be grateful that your child's not being raised in this environment with no aftercare. That's mind-blowing to me. Because as an adoptive parent, to know that I wouldn't have this opportunity to fulfill my dreams as becoming a parent that requires the trauma of somebody else, and to not have the compassionate dedication to help this woman post birth, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. That's just my opinion. I just feel, and that's why I really feel that adoption reform needs.
I agree with that as well. And that is one huge thing about all adoption agencies, specifically this one as well. They don't do any aftercare. Like, what you are to them is a baby. Once that baby has been, like, yeah, you can call them. Dawn has stuck around for years to mediate or whatever, but I don't think that always happens. And they're not getting you any therapy. You just went through a very traumatic event. You're a child in a crisis, so much so that you're going to have to give your baby away to possibly strangers. There's going to be trauma from that. And I think adoption agencies should have like mandatory classes that you go to for like therapy, like before and after.
Needs to happen. And I don't know how that's going to happen, but I think this is a start. We're talking about it. It's getting people kind of exploring things. It's getting the conversation going.
Hey.
And I think it's important. But I think to highlight the most important part of all of this is for the adoptees, because they didn't choose any of this. They didn't choose how they got brought in the world, when they got brought in the world, and how they're going to live in this world. They didn't choose it. Birth parents did. Adoptive parents did. And so with that being said, like, I think it's,
I don't think the adoptive parent should have took care of the birth mom. I think the agency that they used to place Carly should have provided them with like therapy, aftercare. I did not see Grace Report's interview. I'm gonna have to check it out.
it's up to the adoptive parents and the birth parents to do their due diligence and research and to do all of the to gain all of the knowledge that's possible regarding what they're about to enter into. And personally, part of me feels that if we all did that, adoptees would be better off. They wouldn't have this much questions. They wouldn't have this much turmoil. They wouldn't have all of the mental health issues that statistics prove they have with closed adoptions versus open, whatever. It's for the kids. And I know people, like, for some reason don't believe that that's what this is for. And like I said, that's fine. You can believe that this is for any other reason, but I'm here to confirm that it's to open the conversation and to better understand adoption in general and how it works and the whole industry behind it and everything else. So that's why I'm doing this, because I feel in my heart that I have traumatized Carly. And I was ignorant. I didn't know anything about adoption.
I took it as he was saying like nobody was there for her. I took it as he was even implying like April, like nobody was there for her. Like she had the baby, she was wheeled out, baby was given over, she went home to herself and had to deal with all the emotions, the postpartum, naturally when a woman has a baby, I know for me, you yearn for that baby. Like when they put that baby up on your chest and they take it out and they take it to the nursery, I know me, I'm like, when are they bringing the baby back? Like, what are they doing? Why are they taking the baby away? Like, bring the baby back. Bring the baby back. Like, I slept with my baby in my bedroom. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted my baby in there 24/7 pretty much, because I just like, once I had my baby, it was like this maternal instinct kicked in and I wanted my baby. She got sent home without a baby and just nobody there. So I kind of took it as he was saying, like, just nobody. She had no support anywhere. Like Dawn wasn't checking in on her. Her mom wasn't checking in on her. Like Teresa wasn't checking in on her. Just nobody was checking in on her as she was going through something so traumatic. That's kind of what I took it as.
And what they experience. And I feel that she is owed this explanation. She deserves this information. She deserves this truth. She deserves to see herself reflected back in her experience. And she deserves to have the freedom to express whatever feelings she has around it without the influence of the adoptive parents, without the influence of the birth parents. And I think that's one thing that I want to clarify as well. Like, I'm not here to paint Brian Teresa in any kind of light. I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to just share the facts and the truth and let that speak for itself. So yeah, I just think that this whole thing, it just needs to be talked about more clearly, because the cruelty, the ignorance, and just the mean-spirited opinions and comments aren't really necessary, and they don't help. And I don't want to give space for that. That's not what this is for.
Thank you, Miranda.
And like I said, it's not about right or wrong either. It's about just, this is what it is. This is adoption. And this is what happens when you have an open adoption and then it's closed based off of, this is my personal experience. This is what it's like on our side. When you have an open adoption, it's closed with no explanation, whatever, just totally ghosted. So, and with that being said, I want to clarify that I'm seeing a lot of people say that they cut off contact because Kate kept bombarding them or not respecting their boundaries or whatever. And that's just not true, because it wasn't that Teresa said, give us space, we'll talk to you eventually. That's not what she said. She didn't say, give us space and we'll eventually talk about this. She said, I'm done talking to you. I'm not talking to you anymore. And then blocking you. Okay. And so Kate was like, I respect your decision to not talk to me. That is your right. That's fine. I respect that and I understand that. And I'll be ready to talk if you ever want to. I'll be here. But I will not stop sending gifts for Carly, and I will not stop giving her the updates that I promised her and that she deserves and that she's been getting her whole life. And so Kate pretty much told her, like, that's fine. You don't have to talk to me. And that's kind of why the text messages that she posted are, Dear Carly. Every time before that was always, hey, Teresa, oh my gosh, how's Christmas? All this stuff. How's Christmas? What is she into? Whatever. That was the first time that Kate ever texted in that kind of manner, because it was like, we're not talking anymore. That's it. And so Kate was like, all right, well, I'm going to send gifts and all that stuff like I have been doing for the last 14 years. And I think me and Kate, we kind of sat and talked about it, and we're like, we're not going to stop. I mean, I think it'd be really crazy for them to expect us just to stop sending gifts and letters and pictures and updates. No, we agreed on our side, me and Kate, that that's what we were going to do. So just because you say, I personally, me and Brandon, we don't want to do this anymore, that doesn't mean that doesn't automatically make us have to stop our side of the agreement. I'm sorry. We're going to continue to do that. And you have us blocked. That's fine. You're not going to get all this, but I'm going to be able to show Carly that one day. Hey, listen, this is what happened. We tried. We never stopped trying. And based off of all of the stories and experiences that I've received from adoptees, and I asked them, what would you have, wanted? What was really important to you that you feel like you got robbed of? And they all say the knowing that my birth parents tried and they wanted to, and that was the truth, that they, wasn't whatever the adoptive parents were telling them. It was like they want this truth. They want to see the desire and like the fight. I mean, the fight to be in their lives. And so people can agree or not agree with that. That's fine. But I think people are getting the context a little, twisted, obviously with their own opinions involved, but that's the reason why when Teresa said, it wasn't, I've seen some videos where they asked for space and you didn't give it to them. That's not what they said. They didn't say, give me space. They said, we're not talking to you anymore. And Kate wrote back and said, okay, I respect that. You don't have to speak to me anymore, but I'm still going to be sending gifts, letters, pictures, and updates like I promised to Carly, not to you, but to Carly. I promised those things. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. And like I said, I'm not here to debate what's right or wrong. I'm just here to share our adoption journey and what we're going through. So, I think it's important to also know that if me and Kate knew it was Carly's decision to cut off contact, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We wouldn't be doing anything. We wouldn't be sending updates. We wouldn't be sending pictures of her siblings and her bio siblings or whatever. We wouldn't be doing any of that because we would know, okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? About why would we, so if we had confirmation or knew that it was Carly, which we have other information that says it's not, then we wouldn't be doing this. That would, you know what I mean? So everyone's saying, oh, you're
That contract that they signed is not legally binding. So nothing in the contract. Like they could not bring that contract to court and say, see, they promised to do annual visits until the age of 5. Well, they didn't do the 5th one. Yeah, they did some afterwards, but they didn't do the 5th one. At her 5-year, they stopped at 4 and then went a couple of years and then did a few more. They promised to send us 2 pictures a year from the time that she was like, I think 5 until 18. But they're not doing that. Michigan, their laws, they don't have open adoption laws, so it would not be legally binding. It would be you sign your rights away, you sign them over to these people. They are the parents. That's the decision that they've made. But Kate and Tyler were not told that. They were not informed of that when they gave her up, which is what makes me feel bad because I just feel like they did not know going into this. They absolutely looked at this like it was going to be an open adoption. They would be able to send letters, send gifts, phone calls, meeting in person once a year. That's what makes me feel bad. Like, because I just think about I got pregnant at 17. Like, how I would have felt if I thought it was going to be one thing. I would have never placed my child. If I would have been told, listen, you can ask for an open adoption, I can tell you that they're going to give it to you. But I can't promise you that because legally, this state does not support it. Legally, this state does not enforce it. Legally, once you sign your rights over to them, if they turn around and never speak to you again, that is their prerogative. They can do it, and there's nothing you can do about it. I would have said, oh, but then I'm not placing my baby up for adoption. Versus if I came in and they were told, this is your adoption. You're in the driver's seat of it. You choose how you want it to go. How you see your adoption is how it will go. Well, I see it as open where I could see her and send letters and pictures and gifts. Like, oh, Carly's birthday's coming up. I got to go to the store and buy Carly something and where we can do annual visits. Yeah, that's what you can have. Like, that's what they were told. They were not told the truth. And I really feel like if they would have been told this is a possibility that they will shut the adoption, they probably would not have went that route. Or maybe they would have chose different parents, some that wanted an open adoption. But I don't think Tyler's doing anything good by talking about it. I think that I feel like they should feel betrayed by the agency, by Dawn, Brandon, and Teresa. But at this point, that has been her parents for 15 years. And she may just be the type that if you speak up on her parents publicly, you crossed a line that you can't come back from. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I worry about, like how this is affecting her.
You're going against the boundaries and and it's like, I don't agree. And also I don't agree because I know information that you don't know and that you'll probably never know until the time comes where that stuff can be talked about openly. So, yeah, the whole thing is, messy. It's sad, honestly. Like, I think it's more sad than anything. Like, it's just sad. Like we signed this thing. We had all these expectations. And I don't think we're owed those expectations. I don't think the expectations, we deserve them. I just feel that when we made this decision that we verbally agreed on specific things and we said.
It was Willow. It was supposed to be an open adoption. That's what they verbally agreed upon. That's not what was put in the contract that they signed. However, the contract is not legally binding. And Michigan does not support open adoptions. So
that we want an open adoption. And I have to say that if Brandon and Teresa were not okay with the publicity of their child adoption story, they should have said no. when they were asked, hey, they're going to be that's going to be documented on a public TV show, whatever. Like they should have said no. And when the information got to them saying, hey, they want to open adoption, they want to have face-to-face visits. That's what open adoption is, face-to-face visits. Okay. The difference between semi-open is pictures and letters. The only difference between semi-open and open is face-to-face physical contact visits. Okay. That's fully open versus semi. And so they could have said no when Dawn said, hey, they want face-to-face visits, but they didn't say that. And so to now 14 years later, after having this open adoption, which slowly I can sense was closing, I think is wrong. Not only because it's not what we agreed upon, but because you have the opportunity to say no. But I feel like a part of me feels like the longing to fulfill your infertility solution and having these dreams of being a parent, you just said, yeah, it's fine. Even though you clearly didn't want any of that. And so when I look back at it, it's like me and Kate were very clear on what we wanted and expected and why we chose them, because they agreed to these things. However, on their end, they clearly didn't want any of this from the get-go. So why? Why? I just don't understand why. It's not like another couple wouldn't have picked them. It's not like, it was the only chance they were ever going to have at fulfilling those dreams of being parents. So anyway, I just feel like it's just sad at the end of it all. I mean, to think about, my wife having to.
Well, Dawn did tell them in the first clip, she said, what do you want? And Kate said, I want to be able to see her. Like, I want to be able to send gifts, send pictures, do phone calls. Like, I want to be able to have that kind of relationship with her, where if I know her birthday's coming, I'm like, oh, Tyler, I got to go buy Carly something to send it off. I want that. And Dawn said, and you can do that. This is your adoption. You were in the driver's seat of your adoption. It can go however you envision it. So she did lead them to believe, when Dawn has been an adoption counselor at this time for a couple of years, and she knows that Michigan does not enforce open adoptions. She gave Kate and Tyler books of profiles. She knew that Kate and Tyler wanted an open adoption, or at least semi-open adoption. She sent them home with profiles and pictures of couples that wanted closed adoption, where it should have only been couples that wanted semi or open. Kate and Tyler picked Brandon and Teresa. They came back in. They said, we picked Brandon and Teresa. Okay, yeah, good. She called Brandon and Teresa. Oh, yeah, we'll come down. They want semi-open. Okay, well, yeah, I guess we'll do semi-open. They did not want semi-open going into this. They changed it because, well, they just got a call that a couple has a baby that's going to be born in a couple of months, and they want to use them. So this is a family, a man and a woman that's been trying to have a kid for a while, has realized that they possibly can't, so they're going to go the adoption route, and have been waiting to be chosen for, by someone, and they're finally chosen, and it's just, oh, well, we want something a little different. Okay, well, never mind. We can do that. We can do semi-open. And then they changed it from semi-open to open. And they said, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. When they asked Dawn, do you think Brandon and Teresa will be okay with us going from semi-open to open? She said, yes. We prepare the adoptive parents for this. We let them know that this is a possibility, that it can be changed. Yes, but I think, to me, that tells me all that I need to know when she tells them, you choose what you want, and every clip that we see is them talking about being able to have that relationship, being able to have that open adoption. When they went and got the tattoos, they're saying, like, they're telling the tattoo artist, about this baby that they had. They're going to put her for adoption. And they're like, so y'all never going to see the baby? Oh, no, we can see her. We can see her. Yeah, it's not like that. It's an open adoption. We're going to be able to see her. We're going to be able to send gifts. We're going to be able to, write letters. Like, no, she's going to be in our life. We're going to be in her life. Like, they absolutely thought it was open. And I just think they were very much deceived. However, I just don't think he's going about it the right way. They were 16. We're young and dumb at 16. Are we just not, we don't have the knowledge, and Dawn had the knowledge and she did not tell them. And then they verbally agreed on open adoption, but Dawn typed up a contract stating that it would be open until the age of 5, and then Brandon and Teresa could close it. And that was something that Kate Tyler said they signed the contract without reading it, because they just assumed that it was what they verbally agreed on, and how they always verbally discussed it being open. They just assumed that's what they put in the contract. But either way, the contract's not legally binding. But I just don't think he's going to be doing any good by talking about it publicly, because Carly could take so many of the things that he said as him bashing her parents.
Sorry. To think about her having to be rolled out of the hospital in a wheelchair as she's still bleeding, and she's holding, like,
The contract is not legally binding. The contract is not legally binding, but basically in Michigan, once you forfeit your parental rights, you're not entitled to anything at all. So that is like the issue here, that she's telling them, oh, you can have an open adoption, full well knowing open adoptions are not enforceable in Michigan. She did not tell them that. I think she should have.
I was
Sorry, guys. I know I'm sniffling a lot.
It's hard. See, this is hard. It's difficult, that she was a child rolling down the street and not even at hospital grounds, with the expectation of having this access and this open adoption experience, and trusting all the adults that were around us telling us this was the right thing, and you're just doing such a good job, and what a gift you're giving these people. It just kills me. It literally kills me. And to know that trauma that Kate had to go through, not only at home before Carly was born, but afterwards, and she was by herself, and there was no support. No one came after that. No one said, hey, Kate, come. Like, how is that okay? Like, it's just it's just traumatic.
Having a 19-year-old daughter, I can honestly say I could not imagine her getting pregnant at 16, making the decision, going to the adoption agency without me, going with her boyfriend, having a baby, me getting mad, leaving the hospital mad because she chose to go through with adoption. And then after she comes home without said baby, not being there for her. I do feel bad for 16-year-old Kate. I really do. Like, she was in a very messed up situation. That is sad. And no wonder she has so much trauma, but that is her parents' fault. That is absolutely her parents' fault. Yes, I do feel like the agency should have some sort of therapy there for them. Because especially when you have a 6-year-old that has parents like Kate has, this is not going to be there for her really,
You guys, like, I don't know how to really explain it, but and then for her to continue to share her story, being vulnerable, like, and then for me being young and naive and not even understanding the trauma and PTSD that comes with being a birth mother, not even a birth parent, because I'm a father, so I have nothing, I didn't carry this baby, but for her to have this trauma in her body, then to have it reignited after having Nova, and then having postpartum depression and not understanding why all this is coming up for her. And for me being so naive and stupid and ignorant, I won't say stupid, I just was ignorant. I didn't know that birth mothers go through this when they have children after relinquishing their first one or whatever that. And I was so ignorant and I didn't understand. And there was times when I was frustrated and just, I didn't go about it the right way. I wish I would have been more supportive with her during all that. And she got ridiculed by the public by going and getting help. And even I, at that time, didn't understand. So for her to keep, like I said, for her to just continue to share her story and to be so vulnerable, to take all the brunt of all of this, yeah, it's just, I don't care what anyone says about her. I think she is the strongest woman I've ever met in my life. And I just wish, I wish people would give her a little more grace and understanding. Because at the end of the day, she was failed. People failed her. People failed her being a young daughter and a child in a crisis. That's crazy. Being a father now to daughters, like, dude. Oh my God. I would just, oh. Yeah, anyway. It's a lot. I didn't mean to get on. I don't know, it's stupid, but this is reality. This is adoption, which is loss and trauma on all sides. And I just ask that people be, just be compassionate, try to understand. Yeah, I just want to get that out there. I don't know why. I didn't mean to, sorry, guys are probably watching like, oh shit. I didn't mean to get like this. But yeah, I wanted to like answer questions and stuff. So let me try to get some questions before I gotta go to the gym. So I don't know what I'm doing here. So, do you think Teen Mom has shown an accurate account of your adoption? Oh, hey, yeah. So Paul myself got player was cool. Do you think Teen Mom has shown an accurate account of your adoption experience? I do. I really do. I feel that MTV's done a great job of showing the realities of it and the truth and the hard truth and the ugly truth and the ooh and all the everything that goes along with it. So I do feel like they've shown for the first time, I believe, ever. I mean, if you think of the time frame of reality TV, where have we ever seen an open adoption take place right in front of you and then in real time follow that post-adoption journey? Like, from a birth parent perspective, at least, like that's huge. So yeah, I do feel like they portrayed it and followed it the right way and did a good job. How can we advocate for young couples if they don't go through an agency? The best way to advocate for young couples, or specifically young moms, because I don't know if dads really stay around a lot, but who they don't go through an agency, is to give them the information, give them the books and the statistics and the facts about all adoption, right? Like, I think it's like some crazy percentage. Don't quote me on this. I think it's a high percentage of open adoption close within the first 5 years. Like, it's rare for open adoptions to even go that long, which is a problem. If you have a woman who's relinquishing her child and inevitably putting herself into trauma, and her also this child in trauma, with the understanding that it's going to be open and they're going to have face-to-face contact, yeah, that deserves to be protected, in my opinion. So the fact that 80% of open adoption closed in the first 5 years, like, the young couple should know that if they're planning on that. And as far as adoptive parents go, like, if I could go back in time, I would ask Brandon and Teresa, have you done grief and loss counseling? Have you learned about adoptee specific traumas and mental health issues when it comes to identity, genetic mirroring, preverbal trauma, all that stuff? Have you, do you expect to close this at any time, as long as the safety isn't, a violation or whatever? Like, there's just certain things I would ask the adoptive parents to get to know first. And what I would advocate for young couples is to not go through an agency. Adoption is literally just a legal transaction. It's a legal kind of transfer of parental rights. That's it. So an agency will give you lots of fluffy paperwork and lots of like things to make it seem like it's bigger than that, but it's not. It's a court case. It's a legal transfer of parental rights. That's it. So I don't think you should go through an agency. I would find a family lawyer. I would find maybe even a legal guardianship expert. I would find legal representation that specializes in adoption. So that would be my, best way to advocate, in my opinion. Oh, you know what? Actually, I want to add on that. Another way to advocate for young couples too is to allow them the space to be sad, and allow them the space to have intense emotions, and let them know that it's okay to feel upset and sad, regardless of what a gift you're giving. I mean, I think me and Kate spent a lot of years afterwards kind of soaking up the glorification of our sacrifice or whatever. And it's really confusing as a birth parent to be experiencing this inner turmoil and this just completely shredding of your spirit emotionally, whatever. And then have people saying, pat you in the back and saying, but you did such a good thing. Like, you gave such a gift. It kind of minimizes our freedom. We feel like we can't, oh, you're right. It was a gift. You're right. I did the right. Like, it minimizes our emotions. So another way to advocate for this young couples is just to hold the space for them. Yeah. I'm actually pushing the limit. I really got to go to the gym. I'm said, dude, it's gonna be a rough workout today. Let me tell you. It's funny because I literally just dropped all the girls off to school, which, by the way, Raya's doing a lot better. She didn't like doing she ran off to the teacher today. I had to wait by the window. I was like, is she crying? But she's fine. Raya's doing great at her first year at school, whatever. But yeah, I was getting them all ready for school and dropping them all off, and I came back home to drink my coffee, and then I just saw so many people tagging me, so I had to get out here and like, yeah. But I really I should be already on my way to the gym right now, but here I am. But I want to keep talking. This is important. I feel like it's yeah. A great question. Does Dawn have contact with Brandon and Teresa? What is Dawn's current perspective? Dawn does have contact with Brandon and Teresa. Dawn has reached out multiple times. She has tried mediating, tried getting a conversation between us going, and she's advocated for us in the best way. And I couldn't ask anything more of her. Regardless of how many her attempts to reach out to them and try to figure this out, they're just refusing to. So, I mean, it's not Dawn. She's trying. Here's the thing. People keep saying this. Okay, great question. And then this is I gotta get out of here. I might be late to the gym if I don't. Okay. If they said they wanted adoption, an open adoption, isn't that part legally binding? No, it is not legally binding. And that is why adoption reform is so important. That is why this conversation is so important, because I have seen this comment more times than I can count. Oh, just get a lawyer. Something's not right. You can. They voice this. It doesn't matter. The little paperwork and agreement that Bethany or every agency has you fill out and sign is propaganda. It is not legally binding at all. The only thing that is legally binding is the termination of your parental rights and the transfer of those parental rights to somebody else. That's it. So I could have voiced all the wishes and wants that I want as a birth parent, and they could have been like, oh, yeah. Well, even we're going to put it in this fancy piece of paper, and we're going to sign it. And yeah, so it's like especially when you're a kid and in crisis.
So they have visited with her. And he said on a previous video, he was like, every time we visit with her, she asks us things like, well, why don't y'all fly in to visit me for the weekend? When can I go stay at y'all's house? And like one time she was on a FaceTime call with Carly. And when they got off, Carly was like, she was on a FaceTime call with Nova. Nova got off and was like, Carly wants to know when we can have a sleepover. Like she wants to come to the house. And they were like, oh, we don't know. Like we'll have to see. So, and this is if you want to choose to take Tyler's word that this is how, because somebody asked, like, has Carly ever given you guys any reason to think that she would want the space? And he's like, no, quite the opposite. She's always been very much about us, very much about Nova Lee and Raya and Veda, like so much so that Carly called them her sisters. Like on one of the meetings, like, oh, I miss my sisters. So then when they said sisters, Brandon and Teresa was like, don't use that word. But if I was Brandon and Teresa and Carly said it, okay, but I would probably ask Kate and Tyler for them not to say it. I would probably understand like if Carly's saying it, like, okay, but I don't want you guys to say it or to encourage her to say it because it's hard for us, maybe something like that. I don't know. But they said it's always been very good meetings with her, like happy to be there.
You're like, oh wow, this is legit. This is great. This sounds great. But it's not legally binding. None of it is. And that's a problem, I think, in our adoption industry, whatever. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And me and Caitlin had to get a guardian ad litem, which I don't know if you want to look that up. It's a guardian ad litem. That's because we were minors. We technically couldn't sign off on parental rights as minors without parental permission, whatever. We didn't get that parental permission. Our parents actually fought us in court, withdrawing from drugs in the back of the courtroom, trying to get us to stop doing what we're doing. So we had to get guardian ad litem appointed to represent us. And I think it's funny how the agency will work really hard to get you that guardian ad litem so the transfer and the parental rights can be terminated, but they don't offer any other legal protection besides that. Anyway, the whole thing is messy. The whole thing is complex. Adoption is, it is just a whole thing, man. I wish I could talk to you guys for hours, or I would. But we're going to keep having this conversation. I want to keep this dialogue open. And I also want to say, for everyone who's hating on us and thinks we're the worst people and we're doing the wrong thing, I hear you. I see you. I understand your perspective. I don't think it's valid, considering most of your opinions are coming from ignorance and not understanding, and that's fine. I just wish and pray and ask that you be gracious, compassionate, and try to filter whatever you're writing and commenting with your opinion as if adoptees are reading it. So just, yeah, filter it a little bit, I guess. I don't know. I know it's a very kind of controversial subject right now. Everyone's has their opinions, but they have the right to have them. So anyway, we're gonna keep talking, guys. we're gonna keep talking about this. This is super important. I want to thank everyone for their opinions and their perspectives. I want to thank all the adoptees and all the adopted parents that I've talked to. Your stories are so important. Your experiences are so vital to us fixing this and to us talking about it and getting people to talk about it. So just keep doing it. Don't listen to what everyone else is saying about shut up and be silent and all this. Don't. Just keep going. Keep speaking. Because if a vast majority is trying to silence you, that's the beginning of something called oppression. And I think we all should recognize, if something is under the threat of oppression, we gotta keep fighting. We gotta keep speaking. So anyway, I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening to me, ramble on and cry and all that stuff. Anyway, thank you so much for just being open. And I guess we'll be talking more about this. So I appreciate it.
Okay. So yeah, that was his final Instagram live, where he basically did not want anybody saying anything too harsh, too negative. I just realized I did not turn my light on. Did not want anybody being harsh or saying anything that would be really hurtful to Brandon and Teresa, or be considerate that the adoptees may see it. Adoptees may see what people are saying. The birth parents might see it, and he wanted to make sure nobody said anything too hurtful. But I'm like, Tyler, I think you said things that they will view as hurtful. And I think it's because you're just sharing how you feel. And you feel like you would have chose different parents. You were asked that question. You answered it honestly. And I understand that you were saying, y'all would have kept her, or y'all would have chose parents that were more okay with the open adoption. But by saying that, you're going to make them feel like, oh, wow, like he thinks we're not good enough for her. He thinks we haven't done a good job raising her. How dare him? Like, this is our daughter. Like, we've raised her. And now he's going to say if he could go back, he would choose different parents for her. That's going to hurt them. So I know he's like trying to encourage people to not do or say anything too harsh that could hurt other adoptees, Brandon and Teresa. But I'm like, there's just so many things that I think at this point that you have said that could be hurtful to them. And I know he thinks he's just sharing his story, but my biggest worry is that how this is affecting Carly. We don't know. We don't know if Carly said, I don't want to talk to them anymore. I don't want to see the updates. I don't want them to, they're sending pictures of them with their other kids having a great time, going on vacation, going swimming. And that hurts my feelings to see that. So I don't want to see it. I am definitely the type of person that I want to know an explanation. Like, if you're going to shut me off, if you're going to exit me from your life, I do want to know why, to give me the opportunity to fix it. Like, especially if you're somebody that I love, and I care a lot about, like, before you just like boot me out of your life forever, let me know what I'm doing that bothers you. That way I can try to fix it. Kate Tyler says this does not happen, but we don't know if maybe it has, and it's just been in a way that they didn't even get it. I mean, they have been told that they were crossing boundaries by continuing to talk about Carly on Teen Mom, but the way that Caitlin and Tyler have always kind of seen it is like, well, this is our story. Like, this is why we are on the show, to talk about adoption. That's why we were chose for the show, because we were going to go the adoption route. So we were chosen to be the couple that went the adoption route. So this is our story. It's our lives too. We should be able to share our story. And a part of me is like, yes, everybody should be able to speak about their own life experiences. But when it comes to putting your child in harm's way, at risk, possibly upsetting them, then I feel like is when parents have to make that decision. Telling my story, does that mean more to me than hurting me? Like, would I rather tell my story to educate people, or would I rather not, so it doesn't hurt my child? By telling my story means that I am upsetting my biological child and making her feel like I am attacking her parents. So what do I want to do? Just telling my story and educating people on adoption mean so much to me that I am willing to share my story and educate people at the expense of Carly's feelings. And I do feel like people need to be educated. I absolutely do. Because I can tell you, as someone that got pregnant at 17, if I did not have the support of my mom and like my family, if I would have went into an adoption agency and they would have told, and I would have said, well, I want to be able to see my baby. I want to be able to send pictures, and I want to be able to, buy gifts. And I don't want it to be where I never get to see the child. Like, I want to know this child. I want to be able to see this child. Okay, yeah, you can do that. This adoption is going to go the way that you want, because you're in the driver's seat of it. You choose what you want it to look like. I'm going to be more inclined to choose it. Versus if someone would have been honest and said, listen, you were 16 years old, but what I need to explain to you is open adoptions really don't exist in this state, because what you are doing when you sign on that dotted line is you are signing your parental rights away. So legally, you are no longer that child's parent. So whoever takes that child up to raise and legally becomes that child's parent, they get to make all the decisions. And if they don't want you in that child's life, they never have to let you see that child again. And this is the reality of it. So you need to think, do you want to risk putting your child up for adoption and never seeing her again? Or do you want to try to raise the child? For me, I would have said that there's no way in hell I'm going to put my child up for adoption if there's even a slight possibility that it will be a closed adoption, that they can close it on me at any point in time. No way. I would be way more inclined if they would have told me all the things they told Kate. So I get them feeling like I would absolutely feel misled, and I think they were. Over the years, it's been a struggle for them. Brandon and Teresa has asked them, like, don't talk about Carly publicly, and then they do. And there was even one episode where Caitlin said, you know what? If it means that I can't share my story, then that's what it is. I just won't share my story. And Tyler said, well, not me. Like, I'm going to share my story. Like, I'm going to talk about it because this is my life too, and I should be able to talk about my life. And Kate said, even if it means you never see Carly again. And Tyler, like, I don't remember if he answered, but I remember it like being a discussion. Like, I'll stop. Like Caitlin saying, like, I'll stop. I'll do whatever. Because I don't want them to take Carly away from me. But Tyler kind of bucking it and being like, no, that's not fair. Like, I should be able to tell my story. Like, and I'm gonna speak if I want to. And Caitlin saying, like, even if it means like losing access to Carly. I think Tyler may have just been like in his feelings at that moment. Because he has went back and, only share pictures of her backside, and he has, do I feel like they have talked more than they probably should have? Yes. Do I think they feel like they're not crossing boundaries? They probably feel like they're not crossing boundaries because, well, they don't go into detail about everything. They just talk a little bit about it. But I feel like, hey, Brandon and Teresa, were already having issues with certain things, and I think some things were just kind of like the nail in the coffin. You know, like the first time that Kate called her out, the first time that Kate made a post, um, and then Tyler joining OnlyFans. I think it slowly just kind of everything built up to where they were like, you know what, never mind, and cut them out. And we have to wonder, was it their decision because of everything that they were seeing, or was it Carly who said, "No, I don't. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to see the messages. I don't want anything to do with them right now." And if it was her, then listening to her, her parents listening to her and saying, "Okay, then well, we're going to block them so you don't have to see that." I think they did the right thing. I don't think so, but Josh got a house recently. But I don't think the girls had the baby yet. I'll have to find out. I'll ask. Um, I don't think it's completely weird to put your child up for adoption, but still want to see the child, to be able to see pictures and see them once a year so they know that you exist and y'all can have some sort of relationship. Because Tyler said the statistic, I think it's like 95% of um, birth parents, birth moms place their children up for adoption only because they don't have the resources to take care of that baby. Financially, they don't have the resources, emotionally, like they just don't have the support to do it. 95% of them, I think that's the statistic that he said, only place their child. It's not because they want to, it's because they can't. They just financially, physically, mentally, emotionally can't take on a baby. So, but they don't want to just act like the baby never existed and never ever see the baby. So they choose the open adoption route. Um, there's a lot of information out about the adoption agency, a lot of like bad reviews, just a lot of like negative information about the adoption agency. I have a video on my channel about it. It's a good watch. Uh, let's see. It's right here. It's called Adoption Agency Exposed: Lies, Lawsuits, and Child Trafficking. Shocking adoption agency Kate and Tyler used during first pregnancy exposed for horrible actions. It's a pretty good video. I went down the rabbit hole about this agency, and there's a lot of information out there. Right. I agree. I don't think they would have either. Um, Pigs are one thing, but the financial part is another. We can't pick and choose when we want to be a part of their lives. And I think they had it set to where Brandon and Teresa was sending pictures twice a month for the first, was it twice a month for the first few months? And then it was like a couple times a year after that. They could send gifts for birthday, Christmas. They could send letters kind of anytime they wanted to. Uh, but the pictures were like they had a set time. Like they would send this many pictures a year. I know for Brandon and Teresa, they agreed to sending 2 pictures per year of Carly, and one was from her birthday. They agreed that they would always send a picture of Carly on her birthday, And one of the pictures would be just of her on her birthday, not with anybody else on the picture. Oh, I hope not. I hope they're not using her for a storyline. That would be so sad if they were just doing this for a storyline. That would be sickening. I don't know much about foster care, and they probably didn't either. I know when I got pregnant at 17, I only knew like abortion or adoption or raise your baby. Like that's all that I knew. Like I knew foster care was out there, but like from my understanding, I don't know that foster care is like where you go to give your child up to somebody to raise them so you can still have access. I don't know. But if that's like a better option, then maybe people should look more into that versus adoption where it can be closed. Oh, thank you, Megan. You've been here for the time. BNT could be more communicative about what's going on. I can't imagine a scenario based on what is being said here where blocking them is the best and the only option. Like there's like a part of me that I'm like, I don't see how blocking them is the best option, but then I'm like, but I don't know how much they have asked. Like, please respect our boundaries. Please don't do this. And then they do it. I don't know if they haven't said, well, we really would like y'all to stop doing this. And then they keep on. Because one thing that, from my understanding, that they have asked to not be mentioned, don't mention Carly on the show. And they do still mention her on the show. I don't know if they just said, like, not in great detail or not at all. But if they have broken boundaries, then I guess I could understand being like, you know what? We've asked y'all to stop doing things. Y'all continue to do it. We're just blocking you. Thank you, Elle, for being awesome, having a great channel, platform to interact and chat. Oh, thank you so much, Lainey. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I also try not to get like, I always try to see like both sides of everything because, I know like some people have this opinion and some people have this opinion. So I try to look at like both sides of it to kind of get the best understanding of like how everybody may be feeling. I hear foster families do it for money a lot of the time. The people I know that grew up in foster families, same. I grew up with a foster family down the street from me, and I felt really bad for them. And I heard the grandma talk about the check that she got. It was very much like the reason she did it. She was on like a fixed income, so she took in foster kids for extra money. And I was like, thank you, Misty. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. CNT did constantly send gifts, and BNT didn't respond and ghosted them. They did try. I'm sure if they actually could talk to Carly, they would buy her the world and pay for school if she asked, or BNT. The entertainment industry exploits minors constantly. They never looking out for TNC. Thank you, Bree. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Misty says, I was raised in the system. I understand more than anyone. Could at least that little girl ended up with two parents who loved her. Another set of biological parents. She's lucky. See, that's kind of where I come from too. Like, the more the merrier, the more people you have that love you, like the better, like I love that like my kids have like multiple sets of grandparents and like they have a granny that's not even their granny. But I don't care because I'm like, they got an aunt that's not their aunt, but I'm like, these people love my kids and they're good to my kids. And if that's what it is, then, but, so I'm kind of like, they wanted an open adoption. That's what y'all agreed to. So as long as they are doing right by Carly and keeping y'all's boundaries, then they're there to love her and support her. Like, the more the merrier. But also, I'm like, what do we not know? We don't have all the information. I know that. And I'm just like, you speaking out publicly, I worry that is going to get you in hot water with Carly. I worry that could be harming her. I worry that she might not like it. And I worry that she might, because I've seen so many adoptees say, if that was my bio dad and he was talking crap about my parents or constantly talking about my parents to his big audience, I would be livid. I wouldn't have nothing to do with them. So I've seen that comment a lot. But I've also seen comments saying, no, as adoptees, we do want to know that we're wanted. We do want to see that our parents are trying to see us and want to have a relationship with us. So I kind of see both sides of it. But my biggest concern will always be with the kids. Like, at any chance that she's not happy with this, I just wish you would not write it in a letter, sing a song, write it on your calendar, take notes, email her your letters. And when she turns 18, say, this is what we did. Like, we never stopped, you know? Oh, thank you. Well, actually, more exhausted than ever when you're sick because you can't take care. Yeah, I know. Oh my goodness. Today, I literally, my son had a dentist appointment, so got up, got the kids off to school, got breakfast made, came out here to get ready and started doing some work while I was in my office getting ready. I was actually looking into some stuff, uh, the Janelle stuff, and went to the dentist, working while like at the dentist on the way home and spending time with the kids. Get home and I'm on like multiple calls getting all this information about Janelle that we're going to talk about tomorrow. So I wonder if Carly stayed complaining she wasn't getting out living the same life as her sisters and that rubbed BNC the wrong way. So they feel like they need to distance her from that lifestyle. Maybe so. It's so hard to know what is going on. It's so hard to know. It's so hard to know if it's Carly wanting the distance, if it's Brandon and Teresa, if it's because Kate and Tyler are not respecting boundaries. It's so hard. Anyways, you guys, she will be 18 one day. And at that point, if it was not her and she was sitting here like itching, couldn't wait to see Tyler and Kate again, then I imagine as soon as she can, she will go to them. And then maybe we'll know more, or she won't, and then we'll maybe know more. Then we'll say, okay, she's 18. She hasn't went to them. She's 19. She hasn't went to them. She's 20. They're still not hearing from her. So clearly it was her decision. But honestly, to be honest, I hope that they can all have like a good relationship, all of them. I'm just because I'm like, why can't we all get along? Like, why? I wish y'all could all get along, and it would be great for everybody. The adoption agency failed CNT. BNT also took advantage of these vulnerable teenagers, and their parents failed them. Their parents, absolutely. I could not imagine my 16-year-old being pregnant and me not being there with her at every appointment. I don't care what kind of appointment it was. I'm going to be there with bells on. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my child. Like, what? Anyways, that was Tyler's last. Yeah, we all friends. That was Tyler's last Instagram live. They are setting up to do a podcast, and their podcast is going to be focused on adoption, from my understanding. We will continue to watch, what's going on. I emailed Tyler. I messaged him on the Instagram and asked him, which he'll probably never see it, but I would love to get him on just to ask him questions. Not even necessarily about like his adoption, just adoption in general. He says it needs reform. I agree. We just kind of talk about the things and maybe talk about there's a little bit, but not in grave detail. Just like, was there at any time were you guys told that the adoption could end up closed? If you would have been told this, would y'all maybe have made a different decision? Like, would that have been like, no? Would that have been like a absolute change our minds if you knew that it was a possibility that they would close at some point in time? Would that have been a for sure? No, never mind. We're not going to put her up for adoption. So I've reached out to him on Instagram, but a lot of people, if they're not following you back, your messages go into some wild folder in the Bermuda Triangle that is never seen or heard of again. So he'll probably never see it. I need to figure out a way to find like an email for him, like a business email or something, to see if I can get him on to mainly talk about adoption and maybe just a little like some questions. But I don't want to say anything that I feel like could be harmful to like Carly, because that's my main thing. And I'm like, you need to shut up. You need to shut up. But I'm like, I do agree that it needs reform, but I don't want to like be a part of him continuing to talk about it and it hurt Carly. So I'm like, I don't know. kind of weird about it. Like, I would love to have him on, but I will be contributing to him continuing to talk about it, and that's what I think he shouldn't do, you know? So, how do you know they haven't? They have the money. They can't talk to her. They've been trying. I don't know if that's to me, Vanessa, or you responding to somebody else. I'm not sure. Kate talks to Amber, so he may recognize you. Maybe. Teresa basically grabbed the baby from Tyler. He wanted to say goodbye. Even at the hospital, C&T changed their minds about holding Collie first. You could tell B&T were scared. They changed their minds about the adoption. I'm sure B&T would have. Anyways, you guys, I am rough. Yeah, I feel like straight ran over dog doo-doo. I'm sorry. We will be live tomorrow to talk more about Janelle. Yes, we are going to talk about Janelle, who took off from Vegas. She went to California. She went to North Carolina. And per my sources, who have been trying to figure out who kept these kids, we have all collectively got some information about who kept the kids. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. It's shocking. I wish Dawn would come on. I would love to have Dawn on as well. I doubt it. Yes, Dawn knew 1,000% what was going on. Dawn was an adoption counselor in Michigan. She knew the adoption laws. She knew that open adoption was not enforceable, and that once those kids signed their rights over, that was what it was. And that if Brandon and Teresa changed their mind on any agreement, that was their right to do. And there would be nothing that Kate and Tyler could do. Dawn knew that. That's why I feel like she misled them. Like this video on your way out and join me tomorrow where I give you guys all the details on Janelle. It's crazy, you guys. I'm scared for the kids because this is wild. That, from my understanding, multiple randoms. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.